Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 323 for June 12th, 2019. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host on this week's journey into advanced technology, mobility, and sustainable energy. And with me on that journey, four sturdy yeomen.
Oh, hey, that's us, guys. Yay.
Yay, sturdy yeomen. Let me introduce them and get this show on the road. My, what do we call him? My first officer, my co-host, my good friend, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Yeoman is a man holding and cultivating a small landed estate, a freeholder. Also, a servant in a royal or noble household.
You weren't supposed to read that far.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I went too far.
Yeah. That part's paying taxes.
Yeah,
but, yeah, that's us.
Right. So, hey, everybody. Hey, everyone in the chat room. Happy Wednesday, June the 12th. And as you can see, I've got my Blackhawks sweater over my shoulder. Go Hawks. For no particular reason.
So the man laughing,
they're going to need a lot of hope to win now.
Yeah, the man laughing his head off is our friend from Canada who might have an opinion on hockey as well, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Tony, you are aware there's a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals happening right as we speak, right?
Hey, in my world, it's always Game 7 2015.
Very nice.
Very good. Very good. Welcome to the show, everybody. We got a ton of news to get to tonight. Absolutely.
Well, and our other friend of some semi-Canadian extraction, is that fair?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Born in Canada.
Yeah, has some Canadian heritage. The founder of Boulder Hybrids, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey, everybody. And in honor of the Stanley Cup final and the Toronto Raptors, I'm drinking the Blue tonight, and that's all that was in the fridge at work. So.
Okay. Oh, and you completely reminded me. I fully forgot. From Kings and Convicts, which is
Kings and Convicts.
I'm drinking King's Bitch. Kings and Convicts, named they're Australian. And they moved into the area, and so they named it Kings and Convicts because the only people you find in Australia are kings and convicts.
And bitches, apparently.
Yeah, and the king's bitch, yeah.
And some baby-eating dingoes.
Right.
Yes.
Sorry. Well, speaking of baby-eating dingoes, no, worst segue ever.
It was pretty bad.
Last and definitely not least, he owns a Model X and so much more. Mr. Casey Green.
That's me. So despite being in the holy city,
wow.
I am drinking a Coke Zero.
That is a mug.
King-size mug.
Yes. So just received a software update on the Model X. It was version 2019.20.1. And
can you tell us what it contained?
I can tell you what Tesla says it contained. Minor bug fixes and dog mode will now run past the 20% mode, or past the 20% mark, and constantly ping your phone, letting you know that hey, your dog is about to cook.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Well, it gives you time to
save your dog's life,
save your pet. Yes,
yeah.
And
it doesn't automatically roll down the windows.
No, because at 20% you can still run for a while. It just now at that point, the reason they picked 20% was to make sure that you could readily get it to some recharging. So now at this point you have chosen to
ignore your dog.
Yeah.
to ignore your ability to charge.
To plan the funeral. Yeah.
And so 20%, like I said, will last quite a while. It's just at that point you need to be close to home or close to a place to recharge.
So can I pull into the mall?
Yeah.
Put my car in dog mode,
right.
Plug into the charger.
Oh, you're good.
When I'm like at 18%.
That used to be a problem, but now it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
until the pet lover sees the dog in your car and throws a brick through the window.
Hopefully they see the screen when they're aiming, but they probably won't. Or pretend they didn't.
Yeah, they just want to throw a brick through the Tesla window.
I just wanted to save the dog.
Scare the crap out of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of getting the crap scared out of us, let's get into the news because we got a lot to talk about this week. So, Casey, I didn't mean to cut you off though. Any other super important stuff in the update?
Oh yes, on the update. And so it also now has like the Model 3 where when the door's locked, you can go into vehicle settings and make it so that it toots the horn so you can confirm that the door's locked.
Oh,
And if for some reason the doors fail to close so they can lock, it'll give you a different beep pattern, which is cool.
Does it play classical music really loud?
Mine will do that if the windows aren't closed because I've got the accessory alarm and it's super sensitive.
I just want to tell you, I was at an EV show locally here, and there was one Tesla owner who, just God bless him, had converted his car to KITT from Knight Rider.
Yeah.
With a scrolling LED in the front. And he had all the windows open. And loudly playing was a loop of the Knight Rider theme, and that noise that goes wham, 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 wham.
You can only take so many minutes of that.
It was, I mean, it was like everybody at the car show had to hear this nonstop. No bricks were thrown. So
amazingly.
Cheers to the San Marcos attendees of the annual EV show.
Yes. These improvements were not listed for folks who own a Model S, at least not the beeping.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, probably an oversight. But speaking of explosives.
Was that a segue?
That was the most Dada thing you've ever done, Casey. That was beautiful. Cheers. Cheers, brother. On the David Buster's mug. Okay. Tony Schaefer and I are going to share a story, but Tony's going to do the lead in on it because I just wanted to put the pressure on him.
Right. Okay. So Inside EVs put up an article that starts with Toyota finally decided to go all electric from 2020 with a new BEV platform and 6 global BEV models, including crossovers, SUVs, and more.
Wink, wink.
Now, we did a couple of weeks ago talk about the BEV F, I always get this wrong, the FCH. Is that it? HRC?
Well, those are the two
whatever, the CHR. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Toyota version, the ugly one. And then it had an equivalent. And these were both going to be all electric, and they're only going to be in China. So that was mentioned. Oh, yeah, you know what? I should read the article because it says right here, the CHR and the Toyota Aizoa BEV twins in China. And they said that by 2025, all models will have electrified versions, if only hybrid versions. And at this announcement, they actually had the clay versions that Russell has put up. So these aren't
they
functioning.
Were clay, not styrofoam?
Yeah, well, let's see. Yeah, it was referenced that usually the clay models are only for internal testing. I don't know exactly what these were made of. To be honest,
is way better than renders.
Yeah, so at least they weren't renders, and they wanted to show people what they were looking at. And they have some of the slides from the presentation talking about the milestones in electrified vehicles, where we are now and where Toyota sees them going. They see BEVs, full electric vehicles, having a small portion of the market. They actually make room for the fuel cells, which any room is too much room. And the plug-in hybrids and hybrid electric vehicles, they have for the lion's share of what they see the market is going to be by 2050. So they did mention the 2 crossovers that they had, the ZOA and the CHR. And then this is where it gets kind of interesting. They plan on releasing a compact car, partnering with Suzuki and Daihatsu. They are planning a medium crossover, a medium sedan, a medium minivan. They're going to partner with Subaru for a medium SUV, and then they're going to have a Toyota branded large SUV. And those, again, this is the render part. But let me go ahead and share this picture here. This is just a rendering of 6 some nice looking cars and some just butt ugly renderings. I mean, this thing right here, I don't know
That's the
exactly.
ugliest thing.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what to do
It's the
with
contractor van.
that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've seen the Kia
Or an
Soul,
ambulance.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And the
guess.
Nissan Cube and the Ford Transit Connect. And
This is interesting. That's a minivan. This looks a little more normal. I could see people actually driving.
Yeah, that one looks like
Something
the
like
Highlander.
That's not far off of a RAV or Highlander.
Yeah. But then they get into like the sleek sort of
That looks like the
thing
Lexus.
up here. Yeah. And then I guess this is the small SUV looking thing. But yeah, they have here like some of the slides, like so we all know that the TNGA, Toyota, is it new global architecture?
yeah, new generation.
New
architecture.
generation architecture. Yeah. Well, they have the eTNGA, and you can see that they have things like the motor in the front, and then maybe if there's a motor in the back. So you have some variability here. This section is fixed in front. The wheelbase can be made bigger, and then from the top view, you can see how they can stretch it out. So they plan on having this eTNGA platform that they can manipulate based on the different type of vehicles that they're planning on releasing. And then they talk about the motors themselves, the front motor and the rear motor. And, of course, we all know where front motors, rear motors, and all-wheel drive belong right here. And then showing how they'll be able to do variations and multiple variations here by, you can see like the overhang, short, long, the wheelbase, short, medium, long, and just the combinations that they come up with. And then throw a different facade on it, and it's almost like voila, you have a different car, kind of thing. Yeah. So then talking about the different vehicles, and I'm scrolling. Here's the little smart looking thing, tiny. But what I want to get to are these things, which okay, I think these are interesting, and the middle one, ignore the middle one. The middle one is just stupid. But an electric wheelchair, essentially, which is awesome.
That
Great.
first one's like a Walmart thing, right?
It kind of
Yeah.
is. It gives you that
A
impression.
mobility scooter is, I think, the
Mobility
common phrase. Yeah.
It's the one on the right.
Yeah.
That's an
I
upgrade
think-
for the old school wheelchair.
Yeah, and there's a video that's showing this, and everyone should go to the InsideEVs.com article and watch this video, because they hook this up to the wheelchair, and then you have the handles, and now basically, like you said, an old school wheelchair is now motorized. That's pretty cool. That's a great thing. Yeah, and they kind of show different applications and uses. Yeah,
The third one's ugly as shit.
Yeah, pointlessly ugly and stupid.
Yeah,
Actually, so Toyota has an arm that makes these little tiny things. Daihatsu, they make these little mini. Usually, they're commercial, like trucks.
I
Kind
think
of
Daihatsu means shitbox in Japanese.
Oh my God.
It may, but I mean, they make these things that are like utilitarian golf carts.
Mhm.
So, I mean, one of the things, and Tony, forgive me,
Mhm.
one of for me, the big takeaway here is Toyota, Subaru, Suzuki, and Mazda. They're all in on this.
Mhm.
4 companies.
I was
all
kind of
gonna
saving. I was saving that for your part. Yeah,
Oh, well, then I'm glad I.
right. Because your
So
article,
like the Eagle twins, triplets.
they're like more like is it Megatron? Well, no, what was it? No, not
Well,
Megatron.
like the Eagle Talon, the Dodge Dart, and
No,
whatever.
it's more like when the
Megatron. No, Voltron.
Voltron when they all come
Ford
together.
a big lion.
Yes,
Yeah.
Or that.
yes. Yeah, so there's, like I said, there's some videos down here, and you should all watch the videos, because granted, a lot of them are, and I'm scrolling, and this is going to make everyone sick. So
Just stop that.
So just stop presenting me.
You're not presenting.
Well, a lot of those other
There you
companies
go.
already use a lot of Toyota electronics technology from their Denso, subsidiary. So kind of makes sense that Toyota is kind of the sun, and all the other companies are planets that revolve around it for this type of stuff, because it's hard for one company to engineer all that.
Right. And we've said for years, we've mocked Toyota, we've laughed at Toyota, we've scoffed, we've done every negative thing we can because they had the lead with the Prius in 2004. And their only competition was the Honda Insight and maybe the Civic Hybrid. And they pretty much quickly crushed that. And then just like Nissan with the Leaf, it seemed that Toyota had just rested on their laurels and said, nope, this is it. This is all we're going to do. Nope, this is it. This is all we're going to do. This might actually give us hesitation in questioning their intentions, because we had even said that you're throwing it away, but maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they're working on something. And this, I think, was the ball dropping.
Or maybe they've figured out the actual solid state batteries, how to make it actually work in the real world, and that's what these will have.
And I think that is a perfect segue into Russell's article. Right? Because isn't it your article that mentions the solid state?
So I mean, I think the big takeaways from this are the consortium, as it were, that Toyota is putting together. This is going to help them spread the costs and spread the sales, make this more practical, which has always been one of, whether we accept it or not, and most of the time, speaking only for myself, I haven't. But that's always been one of Toyota's practical things. Nobody's going to make money on EVs right now. We're not going to get in and lose money. So I think this is them looking at this pragmatically and going, okay, now's a good time for us to get involved. What's the best way to do it? So the first part of that is that consortium. The second part is obviously this TNGA architecture that they can do all these different things on. The mobility devices are actually a super important thing. I think it's probably more important in Japan in some ways, PR wise, because we tend to kind of go, we like cars, we're Americans. But we're looking at two countries with aging populations. So the idea that there will be something like this from a company with a brand name like Toyota, as opposed to Rascal or Wonderful Scooter or Zoomy Scooter or some other piece of crap that's going to blow up and burn your grandma to death, is a big deal in a small way. Okay. I'm personally not all that excited about it, but I think it's cool. I wish they were making a motorcycle and a scooter. Oh, well, I guess I'll just have to wait until I'm in a wheelchair. The other thing is Toyota's talked very, very quietly and very, very minimally about solid state battery architecture, which they have been working on. And at this point, Toyota says that they will be able to deploy that battery technology as early as late next year.
Yeah, the mention of the Olympics.
Yeah, right. And obviously a lot of that is because the Olympics are in Japan, because Toyota's a Japanese company. That's there's a lot of stuff wrapped up in that. We don't know anything about solid state batteries other than they're called solid state batteries. And in general, I think the show has taken a very skeptical attitude, whether it's graphene microtubes or cold fusion or whatever. There's always a new, amazing magic battery around the corner, and it never seems to really get there.
I think they're working on hydrogen solid state batteries.
Oh God, you had to go there. Yeah, had to go there. Of course, fuel cells are part of some of this rollout, which I hate. Some people, I think you have to understand the context that this comes in. I'm not defending hydrogen. I'm trying to explain it so that you understand it. It's not just an evil fossil fuel thing. It's in Japan. It is a more, what was that? So Mark posts, Norway hydrogen station explodes. Toyota and Hyundai halt sales.
I
Yes,
thought
they
that was
do.
my
And-
segue.
I was just bringing that up.
Yeah, just to do. And Toyota's had a hell of a time getting hydrogen into their station. But again, keep in mind, this is a Japan thing. I think that's where a lot of this comes from, where it's a much smaller place where the infrastructure is more established already. So hydrogen there for that particular market works a little bit better than it does here, where it doesn't really work at all for a consumer vehicle. So whatever, I don't, that'll come. Listen, Toyota is not going to lose much money on it before they go, yeah, screw it, we're putting batteries in them.
Okay, so now that Toyota has finally adopted and invented the skateboard platform, are we going to see skateboards with the front compartment full of garbage, or are we going to see a front trunk again? Because
What do you mean garbage?
Like all of that support
Plastic bags.
equipment. No, not plastic bags. All the support equipment on all these other EVs is in the front hood area. It's like, why couldn't you package this better?
I think that's a design choice for serviceability. It's what they believe that is easy access under the hood.
I don't know is the best answer I can give you. And I think we'll see. We'll see what works. I mean, there's no question that Tesla has done some amazing engineering and has innovated in many ways that maybe they don't get credit for because we're too busy talking about other bullshit. But there's a lot of amazing engineering in a Tesla vehicle. And again, I'm not talking about dog mode or Sentry mode or any of that other stupid shit. I'm talking about just solid, like battery architecture, heating and battery management, electric motors, all of that stuff. I don't know. Will Toyota come up with a better system? Well, I wouldn't count them out.
They got some smart engineers.
They do.
Yeah.
But since we saw the concept with GM, other than Tesla, any other time we've seen the skateboard come up is the hood has been full of garbage and not packaged so neatly. Like on the GM, everything was under the floor, and in the Tesla, everything is behind the tub or under the floor.
So why is that important to you? I'm just curious.
It gives you more room to do stuff. If it's up against the firewall, but not like up in your face with like huge plastic covers. Like, I mean, my Volt had a plastic cover that was probably 4 times as big as it needed to be.
I think for me, really, the only concern about that would be safety and giving you an extended crumple zone.
That's the other thing I get at with that. Yeah. Otherwise, there's more room for stuff to shift around.
I don't really give a shit about having an extra frunk.
Well, it doesn't have to be called a frunk, but it is very useful to put smelly stuff up there.
There's no question in my mind that it's useful. I'm not deriding it. I'm just saying for me, like, is that a selling feature? Hey, we got a frunk.
I wouldn't say it's a primary sales feature. I would say it's more of a like, hey, well, now that you're already mostly hooked, oh, by the way, you've got a place to put the pizza or kimchi or whatever.
Mark, what about you? Do you use your frunk?
Only on trips where the car has been maximized with the other spaces maximized.
And you need somewhere else.
So
to
really,
put the other kid.
when I went to Florida, we used the frunk. But otherwise, no, it's not used.
I have to admit, Casey, you've kind of sucked me in with that like stinky pizza or kimchi thing.
Yeah.
Like,
and then
okay, I get that.
Hockey bags.
Hockey.
My hockey bags, yeah. A buddy of mine and somebody I met at a supercharger, they both use them as changing tables for their babies.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know. Supercharging and changing your baby in the front of the car at the same time. I don't know.
Well, because then there's a space already set up, and you can leave the diaper in there.
Yeah, but the kid's in the tub, so you're bending over like it's.
This is
I
true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Now they have one of those koala care things that fold down. And
Yeah, that's right.
Here's the thing I'm sorry. Let me go back to this. Just to summarize this before we start diving too deep into this. The first EVs from Toyota will be launched in the Chinese market in 2020, and then the rest of the world. I didn't see a country by country breakdown with dates. Did you, Tony?
No, that was not provided.
Yeah. So it's vague. It's vague. We don't know when, but I will say this, and again, a lot of people probably disagree. Toyota doesn't talk a lot. And they don't talk a lot of bullshit. I mean, other than self-charging hybrids. They have their mistakes once in a while, but for the most part, this is a conservative company that only says something when they got it ready.
Yeah.
So and they committed to have every model electrified, even if only a hybrid version in 2025. That's 6 years.
Yeah.
It's really 5 model years away. That's
the only thing I would like to point out is that over the past 5 years, 6 years, Toyota has done this on again, off again electric platform a number of times. Like you're right, they don't talk about things much, but they seem to want to get that out. Then they're cool on it, then they're hot on it, then they're cool on it. Like I don't know if this is one of the cycles or not.
That's a good point.
No argument there at all, Mark. I absolutely.
Maybe they're just waiting for Tesla stock to tank, and they'll just buy Tesla and
and what? Close it?
Roll it into.
And say, look, we have EVs.
Yeah.
Given how well the last Toyota Tesla partnership went, I'm not seeing that.
It's got a T on it. I mean, what's so hard?
Right?
Ideology.
Yeah.
Between the two engineers.
Just about everything.
Yeah.
Funny, I did mention I live in San Marcos, California. This is North San Diego County. We had the first ever San Marcos EV show, right? Which was really cool because it's a weird little retirement community. And here's this EV show. But wait, I walk in there and what are the first 8 cars in the line of EVs that are there?
Tesla
RAVs. Tesla RAVs.
There you go.
Of them.
Were all of 8 of them
That's
working?
amazing.
I
working.
Not when I was there.
I see about a 50% failure rate on those.
I love that car though, man. I drove the shit out of that car.
We got one of those up at the University of Waterloo. It's in the parking lot. It was given to the university as a test vehicle, and it's been here for 3 years.
It's broken.
The Gen 2 or the Gen 1?
Because it's
I don't know. But it does run.
The Gen 2 Mark started in like 2012, so it would be obvious. The Gen 1 was like 2001.
Way earlier. Yeah.
So it'll definitely be a Gen 2.
The first Gen RAV EV made solely by Toyota in 2001 was an awesome car. It was like 10 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Except it looked like it was 20 years behind its time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they crushed them all.
Horrible
No,
stuff.
they didn't crush them.
No.
Not all of them. They did crush a lot of them, though.
There's
quite a few out there still.
Tony and I know of there was a parking lot in LA that had a lot of them at one point.
I have pictures.
So back to this thing. Toyota's talking about the Japanese market getting an ultra compact 2-seater iRide. That's that stupid little thing, and who really gives a shit about it? The other thing that I thought was interesting is that, and I'm just going to read from this Bertel Schmidt article on The Drive, and I just said that to trigger all the Tesla fans. Toyota and its partners will need so many batteries that they signed a total of 4 additional battery suppliers. Cattle, BYD, GS USA, which is a huge battery company, and Toshiba. Together with Toyota's existing Prime Earth EV battery venture and the new joint venture with Panasonic. This is one of the largest battery consortiums of battery producers on the planet.
So what's interesting with that is GS Yasu is Honda's primary supplier of batteries, and Panasonic is Tesla's.
Sure.
Yeah. And Cattle is every Chinese manufacturer's primary supplier.
You know, this goes all over the place, right? Denso makes things for lots of people. Whether
Bosch makes stuff for all the European cars.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's lots of these suppliers. Number one, there's no need for you to make your own batteries. You can. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying there's not necessarily a need. And here's somebody that's, they're spreading it out over a bunch of different companies, which probably has some advantages. You get to see who's producing it more efficiently, better quality, all that kind of thing. I mean,
or if a tsunami takes out one of your suppliers, hopefully the other one is still going to be in production.
That hurt. Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. So that's all I got. I mean, this is a big promise. This isn't a reality. This is, some clay cars, which they admitted. They didn't say, hey, these are production prototypes. These are styrofoam and clay cars that are there to show. But again, just the idea that this happened is a little bit different than I think in their announcements in the past. And it'll be interesting to see as time goes forward. I hope Toyota, please follow through on this, please.
And it wasn't an announcement. It was a full-on.
Right.
They flew people in. They had journalists from multiple different sources. This was a big deal.
Yeah. And to your points, both of you, is that, some manufacturers will give you endless press releases. And whenever Toyota says something, it may not always come through, but they have a really good track record of announcing stuff that they intend to actually make happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We must have some other news to talk about this week.
I do have some news to talk about. I do.
Go, Tony.
I was going to save this for one more thing, but I'm really bad and I forget things. So this wouldn't have made it. To everyone in the chat who has already witnessed this, I want to say congratulations to Brenda and Phil.
Is that really happening?
I believe it is. Yes, it is.
They're getting married?
And well, you know what? They don't come out and make news often, but when they do, I think they're fully committed to it.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, cheers.
Yeah. And everyone drinks. Even you, Anders. I don't care.
Everybody drink. Yeah. I don't care if you're at work, Anders, drink.
And in other news, the Blues are winning 2-0.
And yes, Bruce, I agree. They should make a Prius EV, and shame on them for not doing that.
Exactly.
It would be so easy.
Yes.
And it's got the name recognition now.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Chat room proposal. Yep. There's the title.
They said
Chat
yes.
room proposal. Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
I got to write that down. Okay. Tony, you got something on Mazda?
Yeah, a little company called Mazda. Or Mazda, depending on.
In Canada, it's Mazda.
Is it? No way. Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
I had no idea. You guys need to get on board with proper pronunciation. There is a U in about rhymes with out.
No, there's 2 O's in it.
God, a boot.
So anyway, So a little company called Mazda. Apparently there is, so in Europe they have emissions. The new
an electric Miata, that would be fun.
Yeah,
that would be super fun.
So what they have is the European Union fleet CO2 emissions target for 2021 is 95 grams of CO2 per kilometer. That's 95. It turns out that the fleet average for Mazda right now is 135. So they've got some work to do.
Yeah.
So this article from autoblog.com talks about how Mazda is hooking up with Toyota and Denso in a joint they did in 2017 as a joint venture. It was called the EV Common Architecture Spirit Company Limited to develop EV technology. And so we might start seeing EV Mazdas, which again is another one of those companies that we had lamented for years. Why aren't you doing anything? Why aren't you in this arena? And now it looks like they might be. But also mentioned in the article is that Mazda's, what do they call it? The spiral engine? Rotary engine, yeah. The rotary engine would possibly be a really good generator, like the Chevy Volt or any plug-in EV.
And they pollute too much.
And they what?
They pollute too much. Rotary engines.
They're all gas cars.
But Paul VW has a solution.
Yeah.
It's
they
called
got
cheating.
software.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the article, it says the Skyactiv X engine produces less than 100 grams per kilometer of CO2, which is getting really close. You know, that's the 93 or 95 figure. So if they can bring that down and put it into an electric vehicle and use the rotary engine as a backup generator, then their average would definitely drop below the 95 target. So yeah, I'm kind of skipping things, but it's a pretty good article, I thought, from Autoblog.
And I think there's hope for this whole Toyota and everybody else partnership, because already there's a Toyota Yaris they sell that is a Mazda 2 with a
Oh, right.
Toyota badge on it. So,
Forgot about that. I forgot the Yaris was
Gas
too.
car.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, one more thing is the failure to meet the European Union CO2 could be a $707 per vehicle fine.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of huge.
retroactive to every vehicle they've ever sold in Europe.
Right.
Which is
No.
why Fiat partnered with my favorite automaker.
Sure.
Yeah, and then it goes up another $215 in 2021. So they are under a lot of pressure to lower their fleet average. And, you know, we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, talking about incentives in Canada to drive electric vehicle adoption. Well, this is what happens when they're not with the carrot, they're coming in with the stick. And they're saying, okay, if you don't meet these regulations, this is going to be your penalty. And we see companies that have been as reluctant as Mazda now doing everything they can to become compliant.
I could see certain companies' extra credits becoming much more valuable.
Exactly. Yes. And that is, we all know, that is another revenue stream for Tesla. They sell those credits to other companies and make a lot of money doing that. And in this age, you can sell them to the highest bidder, and people will stand in line to buy them.
That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mark has the next story. Speaking of electric vehicles.
Yes. The story
Mark,
recently.
Wheel Cover Emporium.
There's a story recently about the deal between Electrify America, VW company, and Walmart. They have completed the installation of public fast chargers at over 120 store locations across America. So their initial outlay of 150 kilowatt to 350 kilowatt DC fast chargers has been completed. And they indicate that they're looking for adding more to this in the second phase. So
because lots of Walmart shoppers have $40,000 EVs.
No. The reason is because they're fairly close to the highway infrastructure.
Right.
So you're close to major on and off ramps, and it's convenient to get off on the interstate. I experienced one myself just outside of Chattanooga, just north of Chattanooga, in between Knoxville and Chattanooga. There was a Walmart there that was beside the hotel we were staying at in our Florida trip. And they had just opened a bank of 6 of these Electrify America site chargers. The one in the picture here that we've got is a good layout because cars can pull through or up to, and the cables reach. We had a story of someone in a Bolt that when they're lined up in a single file and they've got those posts blocking people from getting too close to them, obviously for not hitting the chargers themselves, sometimes the cable are not quite long enough to plug into the side of, say, a Bolt, which has its plug on the driver's side, unlike a Leaf or something else that has it right at the front tip of the car. So that kind of thing has happened somewhat, but they've learned from that, and hopefully some of those cables are going to get a little bit longer depending on how they position them. But it's a good story that they're starting to roll them out. It's giving some infrastructure. It's allowing people with DC fast charge capable vehicles to travel the country more. I wouldn't say it's on the level of a Tesla supercharger for size or volume or even reliability, but it is starting to get better, and there is some light at the end of the tunnel where these didn't exist before. There was a lot of people that were just staying within the region. They wouldn't use their car to go any further than that.
Now, do I remember one of you guys, someone talking about reliability of the Electrify America charging stations?
There was some discussion in the past about certain stations with the app wasn't working up to par at start, but they have introduced a new app and they've updated some of these things as well. So okay. I think it's some of the growing pains of putting a system in place initially. They did discover that there were some issues they had to deal with, and hopefully those issues have been addressed.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
There you
what
go.
I find interesting about here in Charleston is that it's actually at a Target instead of the Walmart, and there's a Walmart less than a mile from. Shoot, it's not even 250 yards from the Target installation, but it is not in the same parking lot. It's like literally you have to get on the road to get back to the Walmart. And
they didn't make it easy, did they?
But they put it in the Target. I'm like, you guys have a partnership with Walmart.
Well, obviously they have many partnerships.
Obviously, but
yeah,
it was unique.
Okay, Paul, talk to me.
So my story is I was watching 60 Minutes on the weekend, and I saw a very intriguing Volkswagen commercial, and there's a link here we'll post. I thought it was really well done. Basically, they kind of admitted they screwed up with the whole Dieselgate thing, and there's basically an engineer like pounding his head on the wall and says, we got to do something right. And they come out with the electric VW bus. Hopefully their commitment is as much as the commercial, because the commercial was really well done, and hats off to their ad agency. But let's see what happens in the real world. But good for VW trying to regain some consumer confidence after the whole Dieselgate bullshit. So, and it's like a 1.5-minute commercial too. It's
Volkswagen has a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And they need to just do the work. Like the commercial's cool, but I want to see the work. Show me these electric vans.
They show the engineer going back to the archives and then getting the robotics to build the new car. And but yeah, let's put them in the showrooms and make them available.
Right. Yeah, get them out there. Make the car.
Yeah.
So
I have liked some of the Electrify America commercials, and especially the one. I think the first one I saw was the George Jetson.
Flintstone.
Yeah, the Flintstones. That's right. The guys in the ice car, and it's like Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones, and then up comes the guy in the EV, and then the song cuts to the Jetsons. And
I thought on that commercial, the #1 feature was not it's good for the environment. It was instant acceleration.
Yes, it was instant acceleration, and it's the future.
Right.
And if you're not on board, you're in the past.
Yeah, you're a Flintstone.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty clever. Yeah. So yeah, I hadn't seen this one, so I'll be sure and watch it.
There you go. Well, speaking of EVs, there is this other little EV company that some of you may have heard about. They apparently had some kind of fan gathering or something the other day, and I think Casey is going to talk to us about that.
Yes. So Tesla had their annual shareholder meeting.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's what it was.
Silly me.
Who?
The Kool-Aid
company called Tesla Inc. They used to be known as Tesla Motors.
No, but Paul, it's not a Kool-Aid.
There was no Kool-Aid. There was 2 glasses of water on a stool, though.
That's the show title. Sorry. No, we're going to keep the Brendan Phil thing going.
Yeah.
So some of the points that were brought up was Elon mentioned about how the Model 3 is selling, both in terms of volume and revenue, and it's doing way better than they expected. And one of the things they pointed out was the efficiency of all of their vehicles, and how the competition is still trying to beat the 2012 Model S 85, and they still aren't really doing that. Some of them have come kind of close, but not on watt hours per mile or kilowatt hours per mile, however you want to measure it. And some of them have like 90 kilowatt hour batteries and a shorter range than a Model S 60. Just incredible. He called it room for improvement, and he was trying not to pick on the e-tron, which in French means excrement. He went on to try and prove that they don't have a demand problem. And let's see some other key points that they brought up.
How did he prove that?
With a chart.
With a chart? I'm sorry.
It's true.
Is this the Honda Corolla chart?
I believe it was.
Yeah. So he proved it by saying that Tesla sells more cars by revenue than anybody else does.
Mm-hmm. And then in their segment of small luxury, they outsell them by numbers as well.
So he compared the Model 3 to the Honda Corolla.
Yes.
Okay.
The Civic and Corolla, yes,
were sold last year.
That was like so embarrassingly just bad.
He did admit that they slapped together half of the presentation right before they went on stage. So
that's good because it's only an annual shareholders meeting, right?
Right.
No one could have seen that coming.
Yeah.
They just pulled facts out of their ass.
I mean, come on. Okay. I'm sorry, Casey. Go on. Oh, did Casey freeze or is he pissed? Okay, good.
You're just frozen.
I'm not pissed. I'm frozen. All right. So he again hammers home about the self-driving cars, and he says that the powertrain and the self-driving is where he sees their money being made.
Maxwell acquisition.
They touched a lot of stuff. Yeah, they touched on Maxwell. I'm kind of going in chronological. I don't know why. He talked about the efficiency of the Model 3 and the Model Y. And then he showed a picture of J.B. Strobel's house with the third generation Tesla roof.
His best friend has a solar roof.
He does.
Okay.
The only one in the country.
One of seven.
Yes. Yes. And then they talked about why they needed Giga Factories. And as we just talked about with Toyota, there are not enough batteries to go around for everybody. So you either need to lock down some supply from somebody else or do it yourself. And they also talked about possibly starting their own mining company or buying one.
A mining company.
A mining company.
Yeah,
it's going to be on Mars
for batteries
on Earth, and they'll also need to make he said a small acquisition to spin up the Tesla insurance that we were promised 2 months ago. Let's see.
Well, there you go. And the stock.
The stock it went up, which was
it went
cool.
up and then it went down, but
yeah, it does that every time.
Yeah, it's volatile.
It's volatile. They talked about Giga Factory 3 and how, just a few months ago it was flattened dirt with a pole and, that nice Chinese banner that was decoded by one of our viewers. And today it's about ready to open, which is incredible. And he talked about needing to have a Giga Factory on every continent. And let's see.
Yeah, they showed a picture of the European Giga Factory.
Yes.
It was a field somewhere in Europe, and then they said, this is not an actual depiction of where it will be.
Don't try to reverse engineer it.
It's in farm.
Yes. They officially announced the rollout of the V3 supercharging network. It's starting now. And he said, if you have a car and you can't have freedom to use it, it's not very useful. So with that, he also unveiled that the Trans-Canada interstate system should be getting their superchargers real soon.
Trans-Canada Highway.
Trans-Canada Highway, yes. And I figured I'd get a correction on that. They talked about their first mobile body shop repair. It wasn't really a body shop, but it was a service that was like a bumper replacement or something that would have been done at a body shop. It was already painted and matched the vehicle. They put it on, and the customer didn't even have to leave their office or their house, wherever they got the service done. It was
Yeah,
Really
minor
cool.
body repairs where parts could be replaced.
Yeah. He
Which-
reiterated that the Cyberpunk pickup will look a lot different than anything we've seen before, but they're benchmarking it against the F-150, so it'll be able to tow, haul everything side by side with the F-150, aside from the fact that it doesn't look like a pickup truck.
It'll tow like 11 billion tons or something.
So he backed off from that. Somebody tried to pin him on it, tried to get him to say
Yeah.
the 300 again, and
Go
he said,
figure.
well, because you're only allowed to do 80 tons legally on the highway. So if he's advertising outside of the 80 tons, then that could get him in trouble. So
In this
it
country,
was smart of him
but
to back off.
there's
And
what-
it's pointless and stupid.
Ooh, drink.
Oh, drink.
Drink.
Is it like every time I'm an asshole, they drink? I mean, I'm fine with that because everybody's going to
They're
get
gonna be
wasted
drunk.
every show. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, so they mentioned that they'll go over what they're going to
Drink.
do with the Maxwell tech at
Hockey
a
day.
battery and powertrain investor day. So very similar to what we saw with the autonomy day, but now for batteries and motors,
Yeah.
which is cool. And
Yeah.
somebody reminded him that he sucks at times, and he agreed. And then we found out that StarLink is going to be more for less dense areas, like rural America, rural rest of the world, and they're targeting like 5% of the world, and kind of tampered the expectations there, which is pretty good because they're just controlling expectations, and to think that with the 5% that they would be able to meet their goals of funding their Mars trips with it, which is cool.
StarLink is not going to happen.
You're such
So
a
we got
downer.
60 satellites up there.
It's not going to happen.
We've already got 60 satellites operational. So anyway,
No,
more
they
about-
only have 56. 4 died.
4 died. I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I'd like to read about that.
I thought Starlink, they put that up there so that Starman could get over the air updates.
Right?
Is that true, or did I
No,
just
because
make that up?
his Roadster doesn't get over the air updates on Earth. So
Yeah. Fair enough.
so more about robotaxis.
It's coming, folks.
It's coming.
It's
Question is when.
Flufferbot- It's this Flufferbot driving the robot.
Flufferbot did not make an appearance. Somebody tried to say that they were underutilizing the Giga Factory 3, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
He's like, only 500,000, and he tried to get Elon to commit to more, and eventually at the very end he said, well, of course we're targeting more, but they're still committed to 500,000 cars.
I heard that last they checked, Giga Factory 3 was basically empty.
It's still under construction.
I mean, if they're
They're
not
waiting for the
using-
Florida. They're waiting for the
even
Florida
you-
cure.
How many cars have they shipped out of Giga Factory 3 so far? Not a one. Prove me wrong.
Only the
Old
construction
cars
workers
or
that are going
cars
to work.
coming out of the site.
So glad somebody else is being an asshole on the show. Thank you, Tony.
I'm almost done. So yeah.
All right, so some more about fires, and he reminded them that the ICE cars have the fossils have combustion in their name, and then they got into investor questions as far as like
Oh God, no.
just regular folks. So a lot of people hammered home.
Or shills.
A lot of folks hammered home about the fact that they aren't defending themselves out there against this massive smear campaign, and suggested they should spend some of that advertising money on actual advertisements to educate the public. And they said they won't.
Quote. What's the money quote?
What was the money quote?
Elon Musk says he doesn't believe in advertising because most advertising is a trick.
Right. Yeah, he did say that. But they did kind of get him to agree to acknowledge that they might do a education campaign, but not an advertisement, because they say they sell all the cars they make. So, and once again, he went on with the using the raw scores for the NHTSA. So, I expected him to get in some trouble for that. I see it coming. More about advertising and negative articles.
Yeah.
More about negative articles. And so while I'm looking for more that was interesting. Let's talk about the submarine guy. I'll hand that off to Mark while I look for the next part.
Yeah, there's a guy that got up with the last question of the session, and he had asked Elon with a serious face. He said, "Has Tesla looked into any aquatic vehicles?" And there was a stunned look on stage. And then Elon said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I did buy the Bond car from Spy Who Loved Me. And we have worked on a plan to put one of those into play." He said, "But certainly it's going to be a low volume car." So more of like I guess an attention grabber is what a prototype that he would put in place. But there was a story a long time ago about him buying that movie car.
He did. And there's the Easter egg on the Model S, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And then
I heard they're making a submersible Hyperloop.
that would be any Hyperloop, actually. So PETA came back again for what, 3 years in a row now?
Yep.
Yep. So they got us the vegan option the first year. They got us the vegan interiors the second time, and
now they want that damn steering wheel to be changed.
Exactly.
There's just that little strip of leather on the steering wheel they want removed.
Those goddamn vegans.
And Elon really was like wriggling on that one. He didn't want to bite, and he said that obviously today you can get them to give you the rubber steering wheel instead of the leather. And he said that even after they remove the leather steering wheel, that they might not be fully vegan on the Model S and Model X for quite some time. But he did commit that once they figure out the steering wheel cover, the Model Y will be fully vegan at launch, and that the Model 3 will be vegan after they figured out the wheel.
Is that because they use animal products to make the batteries?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, where else has he got animals stashed in my car?
There's literally hamsters on a treadmill. And yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
I will say I was driving in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, a few days ago between Flagstaff and Moab on a 2-lane road that there's no towns, there's no cell phone coverage, there's no nothing. And I went through a town called Kayenta, Arizona, and I was blown away. There was a supercharger station there in the middle of no frickin' where. So they are building out their network all over the place.
Yeah.
So,
and two more things with this quick summary. I wanted to point out that all the folks who were saying stuff about the chairman, she seems to use a lot of the same phrasing that Elon does, like about the boring sections of the lawyer even joked. She calls me the boring guy, and it was quite interesting there. And then the other thing I wanted to do was thank Simon Alvarez for summarizing that timeline for me over at Tislarati. So
yeah, that was really good. He did do a really good job there. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Well, let's wrap this show up, kids. It's 7:00, and somebody's what?
Put a bow on it.
What? Oh,
what?
Tie bow on it.
Oh.
Wrap it up.
Wrap
it up.
That's like a North Carolina thing, isn't it?
No, I'm not from North Carolina.
You're not?
No.
I
live in South Carolina, but I do not profess to be from here.
Oh, okay.
Carolina, North, South.
I'm mixed up. Who knows where I'm from? I'm just a wandering gypsy with no roots whatsoever. Let's do some let's do some shout outs and go home, kids. Mark Coughlin, start me off, please.
Well, if you happen to be in the Tilsonburg area this Sunday, we've got an EV event happening at Turtlefest.
Did you say Turtle Fest?
The one and only Turtle Fest in Tilsonburg, Ontario.
What
this
is that?
Friday
where they roast turtles for dinner?
They roast them up. They run them over first on the road, then they scoop them up and roast them.
No.
Sunday.
So that's a great thing that's happening. There's going to be an EV section in the car show, and I'll be there. If you want, please come by, say hello if you're in the area. And one final thing, on Sunday the 23rd of June at Evolve One Center, we're hosting an event. The Waterloo Region EVA is hosting an event where we're going to have a sustainability fair along with EVs. And of course, the new Ion electric train is starting up that week. And you can get free rides on the train and drop by the station, the Evolve 1 station, and see our event too. So if you're in KW, drop by Sunday, June 23rd.
Thank you very much. Definitely. And how can you miss something called Turtle Fest?
I know.
I know. What kind of soulless zombie do you have to be?
That mascot was adorable.
Yeah, it's
that one was killed last year, Tony.
Says the vegan guy. Casey Green.
I make videos. I make videos on YouTube. YouTube.com/KCGreen. KACEYGREEN. It's all about the EV lifestyle. With a Tesla bent because that's what I have, and the majority of my videos are supercharger reviews, but not all of them. And so if you're traveling the country on the supercharger network and you want to know if it's worth going to the next stop on the trip planner, so far I'm pretty well covered in the Southeast. You can look at the video and see if it's worth your time, or if you want to skip to the next one.
There you go. Do check out youtube.com/Casey.
And I just looked up Kayenta, Arizona is not online yet. So don't attempt to charge there yet.
Oh, I don't even know where that
Coming
is.
soon. It's in the middle of no freaking way. I mean, there wasn't even gas stations in that part of Arizona.
Wow. Okay. That's
when this thing turns on, that's going to be
huge.
Forward.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, speaking of a man who's not in the middle of nowhere, Mr. Guzik, you're up.
Short and sweet. I'm just going to plug my business as usual, Boulder Hybrids. Our website is boulderhc.com and boulderh.com for our used car inventory. That's it.
There you go. boulderh.com and boulderhc.
Yep.
There we go. Boulder. Okay, there we go. Yeah. I had to get my head around that for some reason, and I know that. Last and not least, once again, my friend Tony Schaefer.
Shout out once again to Brenda and Phil.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet.
I want to make sure I got the names right. Brenda and Phil, congratulations. He said yes. And we have a show title, so that's awesome. Shout out to all of our watchers, viewers, listeners. If you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, you're probably listening to it on, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, iTunes, or somewhere else. Wherever you get your audio podcasts, check for What Drives Us. Look for us. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and a like. And if you just happen to stumble upon the video, make sure that you subscribe to What Drives Us. We do this every Wednesday night. Subscribe to the channel. Click the bell. You'll get notified every time we go live. Yeah, Flipboard. If you use Flipboard, look for us. So there you go. There's the Flipboard announcement.
Said with passion, Tony.
Yes.
Whatever.
Subscribe to us on Patreon. You can get us for less than a quarter a show.
That's true. Yeah, we work for cheap.
Yeah. Oh, we're whores. At least I am. I won't speak for anybody else, but yeah. I do a show every week for less than 25 cents. Come on. That is patreon.com/whatdrivestheshow, patreon.com/whatdrivestheshow, where you can subscribe for $1 a month. That's less than 25 cents per show. Support us. We need it because, look, geez, I mean, a little bit of money wouldn't hurt. I always want to thank Michael Mannering for our theme music, especially our brand new custom theme that he did just for us. Yeah, I'm kind of braggy about that. Visit him at manthing.com. What, Tony?
No, that he actually made a new theme for us.
Oh, right? Like, what the hell's wrong with him? I mean, no, there's nothing wrong with him. He knows that. Anyway, I want to thank everybody in the chat room and send my congratulations out to Brenda and Phil for getting engaged on our show.
What the hell is that all about?
What the hell is wrong with you two? But thank you. And yeah, we're going to cover this. So you guys need to drop me an email or something. What Wow, I'm kind of staggered. Like the whole like connecting on the show thing is so.
Yeah. So that's Russell at whatdrives.us.
That's Russell, 2 S's, 2 L's at whatdrives.us. I'm going to post that in the chat room, which is probably a mistake. But there you go. Boom, there it is. I'm out there in the middle of everything. Thank you to my friends who make this show great, Mr. Mark Coughlin, Mr. Casey Green, Mr. Paul Guzik, and of course, my co-host and friend,
King's
Mr. Tony
bitch.
Schaefer. The King's bitch. Exactly. That's all I got for
That could be a
this.
show title, King's Bitch.
King's no, I'm going with Brendan Phil. I'm touched, and I'm not even like. I mean, you guys know me, right? They have a drinking game that involves me, so I'm a little scared, and I need to know the rules. Somebody send me the rules for the drinking game because I'm going to get you guys wasted next week. On purpose. Anyway, thanks to all of you for watching and listening every week. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. See you later, and thanks.